who's the biggest star? Kim Kardashian is the person that is making tons of money, and all these women are making so much money on OnlyFans. And how do you tell your daughter? How do I tell my daughter? Like, that's not necessarily a way a path you want to go down.
Yeah, it's very tricky because also working in an office all day doing a job you hate, being exhausted at the end of the day and being drained and making very little money is also not a path you want to go down. But that's a traditional path,
right?
And it's obviously it has nothing to do with the way you look and your pictures on Instagram. Like that's not generating you. It's not like you're a sex object that's generating you this money. But if you're a woman if you're any person that's doing a job that you hate and it's incredibly time consuming and taxes you emotionally, you're there all day, you're working in this very bizarre power structure where you have to adhere to certain social rules and regulations, and it's your whole life because it's most of your day.
Yeah.
Like the idea that it's only 8 hours a day is not true. You also have commuting, and most of these people that if you work in a significant job, you probably have to work overtime or you're on salary, so you're working on weekends, you have projects you have to work on.
Look put together.
I have friends that have worked in Hollywood, like in studios and stuff like that, and that work is never over.
No.
You take it with you on the weekends. You're always exhausted.
So you're telling me that they should probably sign up for OnlyFans?
Well, it's like, what do you want to do with your time? I mean, you can look. Kim Kardashian is a good example. Like Kim Kardashian, as much as people like to give her a hard time, she's worked very hard to get innocent people released from prison.
No,
she's done a lot of positive things.
Yep.
She really has.
No, I'm just wondering about the
imaging?
Well, it's when I was pushing back and like showing my boobs online, one of the things I hated was that this idea that you can't be smart and naked for a woman. Right. I always push back against that. Like,
it's stupid.
It is stupid.
Yeah.
You can't be an intellectual and you can't show your boobs. You can be both. And a lot of men have pushed back and said, well, boobs are a sexual thing. It's not the same as men, and that's a whole other discussion. But I think there was a moment where I was doing a little bit of both, like boobs online and waiting tables. And there was something, waiting tables was soul crushing in a different way, but I didn't feel, there was something.
You didn't feel exploited.
It wasn't, I would be guilty of self-exploitation.
Right.
If that's even a thing, which feels like a weird thing. But I think you can exploit yourself.
Sure.
And I don't feel like I was necessarily exploiting myself. But then when I saw, I don't know, my husband and I were just talking about this. We started a podcast called Factory Settings, and we were just having a discussion about porn. And I was like, every time I look at porn, I feel like there's something in me that I feel it's like going to Vegas. I feel like my soul gets a little bit sick or something. I can't explain it. It's just a feeling. And I feel like on the other side of that, even if I was like, oh, this is just tasteful nudes, like there's still random guys jerking off to that out there. And what cost does that have on my spirit? Or my soul.
Isn't that weird? That's
a weird thing to.
It's a weird thing to even think of. Like the whole porn discussion is very strange, right? Because everybody wants to have sex. People enjoy sex. It's a biological urge, but filming it and then showing it to other people is where the real problem comes in.
Yeah, and there seem to be kind of grades of it. It's like what I was doing online would be like positively adorable by today's standards. It's like boobs and bum shots. You're never going to find a picture of my vajayjay out there.
But isn't it funny that there's something about that, like that part, it showed the vagina, and then all of a sudden, like that was Hustler.
Yeah.
That was the thing about Playboy didn't show pussy. You just saw like that kind of the door to the pussy. You never got to open the door and see inside the house. The Hustler was like, let's turn all the lights on and let's
come inside.
Let's see your womb.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's like I'm so thinking about all of this because I'm trying to write a book, and it's all about Like, I don't know how to explain my life to my daughter, and how do I have conversations with her about sex and love and marriage. And this in particular is, I don't think, and then I wrote that piece that I regret being a slut and got a lot of pushback from people. Sluts. I got a lot.
But it's your personal feelings. There's nothing. How can someone give you pushback from your personal feelings of what you regret?
Well, the argument is that, did I regret it at the time, or am I only looking back at it and regretting it now that I'm older? I'm like, that's both. The nature of regret.
Yeah, but
like,
it's also,
you're not usually regretting things like in real time.
But isn't that about the way our society, Western society, particularly American society, criticizes that? Because in European culture, sex is looked very differently than we look at it. Even in Canada, they look at sex very different than we look at it. It's not shameful for girls to engage in sex or want sex.
Yeah.
In a lot of countries, it's totally normal and natural.
Right.
And they have completely different thoughts about it. Like in some countries, they'll show porn late night on television. Right. I remember that I was watching porn. God, I forget what country it was in. It might have been Germany. But I was
probably Germany.
Flipping through the channels late at night, and there was porn on TV. I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is wild. This is like regular TV, but it's normal for them, and but it wasn't crazy porn.
Yeah.
It's just people having sex.